Look at this pattern I drew. Where the lights will go are marked in blue. Hi everyone! So for the past several years we've had these fairy lights just sitting around our house with no ideas of what to do with them, but I think I came up with a plan and I hope it works. So today we're going to try and build a felt campfire, toy campfire, and we're gonna actually incorporate the lights into the fire to make it look like it's actually burning. And I drew up a little pattern here, which if this actually works out, I will try to get a link in the description to them. So I think I have everything here that I need. We've got the pattern, got a lot of single sheets of felt. Let's see, one light brown. I got 4 dark browns. We'll see if I actually end up making 4 logs for it. 6 pieces of red, 3 pieces of orange, and 2 pieces of this golden yellow. You can probably get away with just 1, but just in case I screw up, I wanted to be safe and not have to get another piece. Of course, scissors, corresponding embroidery thread. I'm going to be hand sewing all of this with some needles, some markers for tracing my patterns, and of course, a big old bag of stuffing. So let's go. Whew. That sure was a lot of tracing and cutting. But anyway, so now we have, let's see, 8 of these little circles, 1 square for the pocket for the battery, 3 of the little yellow flame, 3 of the medium-sized orange flame, 6 of the big red flame, and 4 of the pieces of wood. Guess there's nothing left but to get to it. This is gonna be a long process. Okay, so the next step, I'm going to be stitching embellishments onto the little log pieces to give them rings and little kind of bark marks. And I actually made one ahead of time to give you an idea of what it will ultimately look like here. And this is a nice relaxing little step here. Just are gonna use a running stitch going around. I'm in 2 little circles on the ends of our log here. So after you got the 2 ends stitched up, next we're moving on to the bark embellishments here. And again, I'm just using a very basic running stitch, just in and out. So the nice thing about this particular embellishment that I'm doing is, since it's supposed to look like bark, I'm not even really worried about the stitches being straight lines or the same size. You can just kind of freehand it and have fun with it. And if you want, you can skip this step altogether. Save yourself a little bit of time. When you get done with one little line, one little squiggly line, just tie it off, move on to the next one. It is. All right. Oh, just to show you what we just did there. And again, really don't worry about making the stitches perfect or even. The whole purpose of them is to create imperfections on the wood. So there's really no need to be perfect about it. Just you use it as a time to relax. Especially because this next step is a little less relaxing. Okay, so I switched over my threads back to this dark brown, and we're gonna start at the end here and just thread it through right there on the ends. Up towards the pretty side. But you want to hold this pretty close to the corner there. And wrap it around, all the way around. And then you actually want to stick your needle through there, creating almost like a knot. You stick it in the front here. Sorry. And then you want to loop it around. So it creates this sort of boxing in. And it's a little hard to do all the way around this circle because you have to keep working it into a circle shape. So stick and then make sure to loop. These colors aren't very good for showing. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description to a probably better video on how exactly to do the blanket stitch. Better visuals. Stick it in and loop all the way around. And eventually it is gonna look like that. See, what's nice about this blanket stitch is it gives this nice clean edge where the loop goes. Alright, got the circle all the way on there, and now I'm just going to start stitching up the side here. And also I'm going to be stuffing as I go along. Once you get in the groove of it, this becomes a pretty easy stitch to do. Even if you, say, accidentally miss a loop, you should automatically notice, and you can just scoop it up like that. Fix yourself. And I'm trying to not go too deep, only maybe a 1/4 of an inch, if that. Because ultimately, I like how it has a little bit of a seam to give it that homemade look, but I don't want it to be too big that it no longer looks like a stick, or log, I should say. And this particular stitch does take up a lot of thread, so do expect to run out of it a couple of times as you're going along. I will try to remember to put a link in the description that has contrasting brighter colors so you can actually kind of see better. These dark browns aren't really good for seeing stitches. And there it is. Okay, so some time has clearly passed since the last time I recorded this video, but now we're on to the most complicated step in this process. Let me show you. I drew up another little pattern where I actually numbered out exactly where I plan on putting each little twinkle light. I should probably note that our fairy lights I counted, and it has exactly 60 of the little lights, which means each of the actual flames gets 20. So keep that in mind if you're doing this at home, that you'll either want a fairy light strand with 60, or you might need to rearrange some things to make it work for whatever fairy lights you're working with. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I pinned together the orange to the red. As well, I snipped a little hole in the red here to thread the lights through. You want to make sure to snip the hole behind the orange here, which is also marked on our second little pattern page, which I should try to have a link to, hopefully in the description. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, so apparently the first step is to detangle the fairy lights. But then after that, you just are going to come in from the backside here and actually string it all the way through. Okay, so we've reached the very first twinkle light here before hitting the battery pack, and we need to figure out exactly where it needs to sit and position the wires just right so that it's peeking out of the orange flame. So it's just peeking out of there. Reach for our coordinating thread here. First thing I'm going to do is just stitch this light down in place, coming up from underneath. There we go. As you can see, it's just gonna peek out there. And then the second one we're actually gonna sew down in here. As this goes along, it should get easier to do because we'll have less twinkle lights we have to deal with hanging off the side. Okay, so I think I want to right about here. This is a paperweight. All right. So now I'm actually from here pretty much just following one all the way around. So I'm going to also start stitching down the orange as I go. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. We'll find out. But what I'm doing, I debated about this a lot and decided to, for stitching these down, use a back stitch. So starting underneath here. And this also gives you another chance to even further stitch down these twinkle lights. Secure them in place as much as you possibly can. Going to do a back stitch around. Down. Oh yeah, coming together. So the back stitch does require a lot of thread, and then on top of that we're stitching down all these individual twinkle lights, so be prepared. You're going to be using quite a bit of thread. I'm slightly worried if I got enough. I probably didn't, because I never do.
Also be warned, I'm using a very, very, very dull needle, so that's probably not helping me at all. Okay, so I'm finding it helps to pin down the lights. That's probably obvious. But the main thing is really just making sure we're getting all of these wires sewn on the inside. So it helps to, like, after you stitch this one down, place the next one, pin it down, and position the wires so that they will be stitched inward. Light number 7. Woohoo! Come in and try and stitch it down through the orange. Okay, and then take number 8. And ours have this stiff wiring in it, so I'm finding that it's helpful to twist the light up, tuck it in. So right about there. Now pin them down. Okay, so here's where it starts to get complicated again. We're going to start jumping around again and actually incorporating the yellow very shortly. So up here at the peak where I'm going to actually, I think, tie off this string and cut it and just stitch this one loosely down here for now. And we'll have to end up like stitching the rest of it up later after we've already done pretty much all of the yellow. Give it a shot. So this is light number 11. So we take number 12 here and we actually skip what would normally be a light right here and go all straight down over to here. We might not have enough room to twist. Let's see. Yeah, we should. We should have enough room. Okay. So I'm not gonna stitch through this orange part, but I am gonna just try and stitch the light down to the red securely enough so that we can move on to the yellow piece. I really hope that's enough, because that's a crazy amount of stitches. Stitch it down, tie it down. There we go. That's about right. Now we need to worry ourselves about this yellow. We can probably get rid of all of these extra pins. So yellow is ultimately going to go right about there. Get down a few places. Whew. This is going to be real tricky with my dull needle. I can see the troubles already. Okay. So I'm going to stop pinning for a second, because I actually need to snip a hole in the orange so I can thread our entire light strand up through it. So let's see, approximately, I'm gonna say right about here. That's where I need to go. The main thing is you want to make sure that the hole is going to be hidden by the upper piece of felt, the yellow piece of felt in this case. It's just a little snippet there. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Whew. And now to find the end of our strand of lights. Okay, found it. Got it here. And thread the whole thing through. Okay, so now we're totally threaded through there. And so this is light number 12, and number 13 is actually going to be pretty much right next to it, but on the yellow. So now we get to move on to our yellow. Oh, so exciting. Thread ready now. Okay, so to get my light twisted in place. Okay, tie number 13 off here. Because we have to jump to the other side of the yellow for number 14. So number 14 is the exact opposite side of number 13. So stitching it down in place. And again, from here we're going basically around so we can start doing our back stitch from here. If my poor dull needle can handle 3 layers of felt. Okay, welcome back. I just stitched down light number 19 and it gets complicated again because now we have to slide the fairy lights back through the hole in the orange felt that we had cut earlier. We want to make sure that the next fairy light can still peek out of the orange here, because number 20 is going to be stitched back onto this in between the red and the orange. So we need to make sure that reaches. But then we also need to cut another hole in the red, making sure it's hiding. And approximately where the light's gonna be. So right about here. Snip another little hole. Pin this light down. Go ahead, string all of the lights through the red hole. Make sure that you have enough of this wire to come out and be able to make it over to this side of flame number 2. Looks like it should just make it. If everything goes according to plan, it should just make it. Okay. from here we can actually finish up stitching the yellow flame. And since we have this one pinned down as well, we can also finish stitching up the orange flame.
If I knew then what I knew now, I wouldn't have had my little accident. Beetlejuice couldn't resist. Here we go. Check it out, we finished the first one. I set it to blinky settings because I thought it was funny and it reminded me of Beetlejuice. And now, just like summoning Beetlejuice, we get to do this 2 more times.
All right, we did it. So here it is all lit up. And I hope you don't mind, I've already taken the time to pin the back sides down, as well as sewn down the pocket for the battery pack. Also make sure that when you're stitching it on that you have it going the right direction on the flame, since you want it to be able to match up to the back side here. And so the next step, we gotta stitch the back and stuff it, and I'm going to do the blanket stitch around, and after that I'm going to come back and probably stitch the meeting points here where the wires are peeping through between the two. Stitch those together as well on all 3 sides to make the triangle. Blanket stitch all the way around, leaving a hole at the bottom here. So I'm going to start at the bottom since that's where I want to finish up and stuff from. Okay, and I want him to be full enough that he's nice and fluffy, but not so full that I can't stitch him up on bottom. So check as you go. Make sure you're not overdoing it, or you'll end up pulling some out as you're stitching. Yeah, that seems pretty good. That'll do. We did it!
We did it!
Yay!
Yay!
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Leave a comment if you think there's something we could have done differently, done better, or if there's something you can think of that we should give a try.
Yeah. Anyway, see you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks for growing with us.
Bye.